The fire alarm wasn't supposed to scream like a banshee, but there I was, covering my ears as this otherworldly shriek echoed through the halls of what I thought was just another boring Tuesday at Jefferson High. Little did I know, I was about to discover why our school had the highest transfer rate in the state. Yeah, multiply that by 1,000, add some existential dread. And you were getting close to what hit me when I walked into homeroom and saw my classmates for what they really were. My name's Jake, and until 3 hours ago, I believed the weirdest thing about my school was the cafeteria's mystery meat. Her shadow had tentacles. Tommy, the class clown who never seemed to study but aced every test, that was the school's warning system, alerting everyone that something had gone terribly wrong with the dimensional barriers that kept our little supernatural high school hidden from the human world. The worst part was realizing I was probably the only actual human in a school full of yokai, demons, and things that didn't even have names in any language I knew. And by talk, I mean you need to understand why forgetting everything you have seen today isn't just a suggestion, it is a matter of life and death. Talk about feeling like the odd one out. The fact that you can means one of two things. So this whole time, Jefferson High has been, either you're not as human as you think you are, or something is seriously wrong with the magical barriers that keep this place functioning. Chemistry class was brewing potions that glowed with their own light. The cafeteria food that seemed to change composition depending on who was eating it. The library books that occasionally rewrote themselves. The fact that our football team had won every game for the past decade despite half the players looking like they'd never seen a football before. It's not your fault, Jake. The concealment spells are designed to make humans see what they expect to see. The fact that they're failing around you suggests that either your own supernatural heritage is awakening, or there's an external force at work. These lights were pulsing in rhythm, like a heartbeat, and with each pulse, the air itself seemed to shimmer with barely contained energy. History class was being taught by someone who claimed to have actually lived through the French Revolution. How blind had I been? How much had I dismissed as just typical teenage weirdness when it was actually supernatural phenomena happening right under my nose? And the gym teacher was demonstrating martial arts moves that involved manipulating shadows like they were solid objects. His eyes glowed amber when he thought no one was looking. And don't even get me started on Principal Martinez, who I swear just phased through a solid wall like it was made of mist. The normal suburban street that surrounded our school was flickering between reality and something else, something that looked like it had been pulled from the darkest fairy tales. Ancient forests superimposed over parking lots. Fog that moved with purpose. Young man, you've already done enough damage for one day. And this time, I felt something respond inside me, something that had been sleeping until this moment. Something that felt ancient and powerful, and definitely not entirely human. When the barriers fail, Jake, both worlds collide. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about thousands of students who had found safety in this impossible place, and millions of humans who weren't ready to learn that monsters were real. The real question was whether I could figure out what I was becoming fast enough to save both worlds from the chaos, i.e. accidentally unleashed. The human world gets exposed to supernatural reality all at once, without any preparation or protection. And the supernatural world loses its hidden sanctuary, and in the distance, shapes that were definitely not human walking toward the school with deliberate intent. Turns out, that wasn't even close. A place where young supernatural beings can learn to control their abilities and integrate into human society. We've been operating here for over 200 years without a single human ever discovering our true nature. The real mystery was why I could suddenly see through Mrs. Henderson's human disguise to the 8-foot-tall spider creature underneath, delicately sipping tea with way too many arms. You know that feeling when you realize you've been living in a lie your whole life? Sarah, the quiet girl who always sat in the corner. The worst part wasn't discovering that supernatural creatures existed. But here's where it gets really messed up. Remember that banshee scream I mentioned? That wasn't a fire alarm at all. The walking disaster magnet who somehow stumbled into a centuries-old secret that could expose the entire yokai community to a world that definitely wasn't ready for the truth. And guess who accidentally triggered it by touching the wrong locker combination? Yeah, me. The one human. Mrs. Henderson's real voice sounded like gravel mixed with honey when she spoke to me after class. Mr. Thompson, we need to talk. She led me through hallways that seemed to stretch longer than they should. Past classrooms where I caught glimpses of lessons that definitely weren't in any standard curriculum. The thing is, Jake, Mrs. Henderson continued, her multiple eyes focusing on me with uncomfortable intensity. Humans aren't supposed to be able to see through our disguises. My mind was racing, trying to process information that shouldn't exist. A sanctuary, she finished. Until me, apparently. The implications were staggering. Every weird thing I'd ever noticed about my school suddenly made perfect sense. But what really got to me was the realization that I'd been surrounded by magic my entire high school career and completely missed it. Mrs. Henderson must have seen the look on my face because her expression softened slightly. The second option sounded way more terrifying than the first. That's when the lights started flickering, and not in the usual way lights flicker when there's an electrical problem. "Oh no," Mrs. Henderson whispered, and when a giant spider demon whispers "oh no," you know things are about to get exponentially worse. The dimensional barriers weren't just weakening, they were collapsing. Through the windows, I could see the outside world starting to distort. What happens when the barriers completely fail? I asked, though I was pretty sure I didn't want to know the answer. Mrs. Henderson's 8 eyes were now focused on something beyond the windows, something I couldn't see, but that was clearly making her nervous. The weight of responsibility hit me like a freight train. "So what do we do?" I asked, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded. Mrs. Henderson looked at me with something that might have been respect. But as she said it, another pulse of energy rippled through the building, stronger than before. "I don't think I have a choice," I said, as the first supernatural creature stepped through what used to be solid brick wall and into our world, its eyes fixed directly on me. The real question wasn't whether I was human anymore, and whether the other students would help me, or decide I was too dangerous to live. Class was definitely going to be interesting tomorrow. Assuming there was still a tomorrow.